All right. Listen, bitch. I want you just to picture this for a minute. You are at Target. You're in the candle aisle because, of course, you are. And your husband picks up some basic vanilla bean situation and he's like, oh, this is nice. And even though you hate vanilla candles, even though you were literally reaching for a eucalyptus mint that makes your soul feel alive, you put yours back. You grab the vanilla, you smile, and you're like, yeah, babe, that's perfect. And that right there, that's not compromise. That is the beginning of extinction. Okay. Because it's never about the candle, it's about the 47 other micro moments that week where you swallow your preference, you edit your opinion, or you shape shifted just enough to keep things smooth. And your brain, okay, your brain loves smooth. Your nervous system is literally designed to avoid conflict like it's a saber-toothed tiger. So every time you choose peace over truth, your brain's going to give you a little dopamine pat on the head, like, good job, you didn't get rejected today. Except now you're 6 months in and you don't remember the last time you picked the restaurant or the movie or your own Saturday plans. And here's the kicker is that you think you're being loving, you think you're being selfless, you think you're being a good partner, a good wife, a good girlfriend, a good friend, a good daughter, a good employee, but really you are just practicing to be invisible. And I don't know how much is going to hurt your feelings, but God didn't create you for you to come here and be invisible. That's just not what happened. Okay. So, anyway, you guys, welcome to the Listen Bitch podcast. This is where I just get radically honest about the story I tell myself, and I share that with you, and I help you bring out the patterns that you can't seem to break, and I help you step into that God given potential that we keep negotiating away because our brains are a little too good at keeping us small. I am here because I genuinely believe that you were built for more than survival mode. Okay. More than people pleasing your way through life, more than losing yourself in every relationship or job or role that you step into. Like you've got blocks. We all do. But like, here's the thing most of the blocks that you have aren't even yours. They're borrowed, inherited, programmed by fear, rejection, or some situation that taught you it's safer to think and safer to shrink than to show up fully, you know? So I want to help you break through all the neurospicy bullshit so you could step into who you're actually meant to be, not who everyone else needs you to be, okay? Um so yeah, that's today I just want to talk about how to stop losing yourself in relationships. And I don't just mean romantic relationships, okay? I'm not specifically talking about that. I'm talking about any dynamic where you start editing yourself to fit someone else's comfort zone. And look, losing yourself doesn't happen in one dramatic moment. You don't wake up one day like, oh no, I've become a shell of a human. It's a very slow process. It's 1,000 tiny paper cuts. It's choosing validation over standards, closeness over self-respect, and their peace over your truth. And what a lot of people miss is that losing yourself isn't about love, it's about relief. It's about relief from loneliness. It is relief from uncertainty, relief from the terrifying responsibility of choosing for yourself. Because choosing for yourself means you might get it wrong. And humans, like we're obviously allergic to getting it wrong. Our brains would rather be comfortable and miserable than uncertain and free. And we do this, like your brain is not trying to optimize happiness. And I know that's annoying, but it's true. Your brain is trying to optimize your safety. That's the priority. And it does that through connection. Connection equals survival, and rejection equals death. That's what it feels like. Your nervous system is literally running a software program from like 10,000 BC. It doesn't care about your authentic self or your boundaries. It cares about the tribe. And if the tribe pushes you out, you die. I mean, that's at least what your brain makes you think is happening. So when someone you love gets upset because you said no, or because you have a different opinion, or because you want to spend Friday night alone instead of doing their thing, your brain doesn't see that as a minor conflict. It sees it as social rejection, which equals an existential threat. And so, what does your brain do when it senses a threat? It's going to adapt, it's going to negotiate, it's going to shapeshift. And that's how that self erase starts. That's how you start to become invisible. And it's not because you're weak, it's not because you're broken. Okay. It's not because you're broken. It's just that you're wired for connection. And sometimes the wiring gets hijacked by people who will benefit from you keeping your mouth shut because you're silent. And there's little sneaky tell signs, okay, that will show that you're disappearing, and it shows up before you even notice. Like maybe you stop expressing opinions that cause friction, not because you changed your mind, but because you got tired of all the sighs or the eye rolls or the 2 hour emotional debrief every time you had a thought. I know I see this a lot with people who over explain their needs. Like healthy adults don't need to build a PowerPoint presentation just to justify why the fuck they need time alone. They just want to be alone. So if you're lowering up just to say like I need this, you're already shrinking. And then you outsource decisions. What do you want for dinner? Turns into what do you want me to wear? What do you want me to be? How should I parent? What should I believe? Like you've handed the remote control over to your own life. And you check the emotional weather before checking your own needs. If you're constantly scanning someone else's mood to see if it's safe to ask for something, that is not love, bitch. Okay. That is not love. That is survival mode. You stop doing what you love because they didn't mirror your enthusiasm. And this one hurts. It's little shit like, you loved painting. They didn't care, so you stopped. You love hiking. They complained, so you quit. That's not compromise. That is betrayal by a small thousand little surrenders. And most people think that they're afraid of conflict. But that's not it. You're afraid of the consequence of conflict. Your brain is telling you stories like, "Hey, if I say what I need, they'll leave." Because you have this root fear of just being abandoned. Or you think if I stand my ground, I'll be seen as difficult. That root fear is just a loss of approval. If I disappoint them, I'm going to lose the connection. That just means you're afraid of rejection. If I choose myself, I'm selfish. You've put yourself through this whole guilt conditioning. Every single one of these blocks is built on a false binary. Either I keep the relationship or I keep myself. But here's the truth, you guys. Healthy relationships don't demand that choice. If someone can only love the edited, manageable, quiet version of you, they don't love you. They love control. And I want to give you some practical steps to get through this, okay? Not the bullshit, not just like, I'm not going to be like, just set boundaries. That never works, okay? You have to rebuild your taste. And most people don't even know what they want anymore. They only know what the other person prefers. So I want you to start small and I want you to relearn your preferences like you're 13 and then build a playlist for your first time. Like, what do you actually like to eat? Not what's easy, not what it is that they like. What clothes make you feel like yourself, not what gets compliments. What do you believe about God and politics and parenting and work and rest without factoring in someone else's opinion? And if you can't answer, what do I actually want without considering someone else, you are overdue, massively overdue for a reset. Okay. And you have to audit your speech. You have to track how many times in a week that you're saying, shit like, I don't care, whatever is fine. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. Those phrases, again, like you're just setting yourself up to be invisible. Replace them with actual data. Like, I would prefer blank. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available for that. Here's what I want. And I'm going to be honest, it does feel like you're being rude at first, and that's your nervous system freaking out. You have to push through that. Reclaim your calendar. Identity expresses itself in time. If someone else's priorities dominate your schedule, your identity has already lost its jurisdiction. Okay. You have to put your life on the calendar first. That means your workout, your creative time, your rest, your friendship, your solo coffee date with Jesus and a Bible, whatever that is. Relationships adapt, people adapt. And God didn't build you to just be a piece of furniture or a stand in a movie that you're meant to play the lead role, okay? Stop regulating other adults. If you're modifying what you do or say to manage someone else's emotional reactions, that is not a partnership. That is you parenting. Other adults are responsible for their feelings, for their reactions. Other adults are responsible for their disappointments, their anxiety, their triggers. That is not your problem. And the moment you start carrying all that weight from other people, you're going to disappear. And then you have to name the void, okay? Like here's the part that no one tells you. When you stop losing yourself, you feel grief. And like you're going to grieve the fantasy of who you could have been If you had kept shrinking, you grieve the safety of predictability. You grieve the version of the relationship that only worked because you were invisible. But grief is not evidence you made the wrong move. It's just evidence that you're re entering like the full version of who you're meant to be. And the comeback kind of feels violent. You know, your nervous system freaks out when you reappear because the old dynamic was super predictable. And the brain loves predictable more than it loves healthy. Predictable equals safe, and safe equals known. And when you reintroduce yourself, the system has to reorganize. And some people are going to reorganize with you. Other people are going to get mad because the version of you that they were benefiting from is absolutely gone. Not everyone deserves upgraded access to the new edition of you. And you know that you're back when people stop asking, when you stop asking yourself, what do they want me to be? And you start asking, like, who did God make me to be? You stop fearing the conflict and you start, fearing compromise. You stop negotiating your identity and you start negotiating logistics. You stop treating peace as the prize and start treating integrity as the standard. That is the difference. So, yes, if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, I feel seen and I also feel attacked, good, because that means that you're paying attention. You don't have to have it all figured out today, but you do have to start. Start small, start messy, start scared, but start showing up as yourself, not the version that everyone else voted on. And that's it for today. So, you guys, let me know. Let me know what you think of today's show. Let me know what landed. If this helps, please share this episode with someone else that needs to hear it, okay? Until next time, stop shrinking, start existing. And that is it for Listen Bitch today.